Welcome back to Where You Live with Gene and Tony. It's great to have you with us. If you are just joining us, we want to let you know we're broadcasting from the Concierge Landscape Studios. We're brought to you this hour by Extreme Exteriors. And the story that we started in our first segment, talking about Cooper's Law, which is a bill being looked at by the Kentucky legislature right now. And, I think we probably should say, just for our listeners here, too, that I don't think that there's anything with either you or myself, Tony, that is concerned with, or what am I trying to say here, that we are wanting to be insensitive towards someone who deals with a handicapped child.
Absolutely not. But this type of argument puts us or the management company or the HOA on the defensive, trying to prove that they're not cold-hearted and unfeeling. It pushes this whole emotional agenda and circumvents the basic point of the whole situation.
I agree. Even by the name of the bill, too, called the Cooper's Law, trying to elicit a higher degree of emotions from folks and people who get this clip from the news. And you, as you read, some people are just boiling mad and angry because people have been stirred up emotionally instead of trying to take a look at this situation, what's really going on.
That's right. They've been told that this authoritative entity, the HOA, is being cruel and unthinking and evil and to some poor disabled child. Now, this legislation would specifically say that small buildings like this playhouse can be allowed in homeowners associations if it's a doctor says it's necessary for therapy.
So it sounds like we're going through the same thing that we do with, quote, service dogs, right?
Service animals.
You're right.
That's
service
right.
animals. As long as you can get a doctor to prescribe this, then that supersedes anybody's
But
authority.
There's problems with that, isn't there? Because people have taken advantage of that privilege to have a service animal by getting a doctor to write a statement saying, Mr. Smith must have his 6-foot monitor lizard for his emotional well-being. This person has to have their boa constrictor. This person has to have their iguana on a leash. This person has to have a capuchin monkey in his. It's been abused.
Here's my concern. I know a little bit about dealing with people who have cerebral palsy because I had the opportunity of being a live-in provider of a gentleman who had cerebral palsy, and he ended up, he and I and a couple others were roommates at the University of Minnesota years ago, and he was my job, but taking care of him, but he was also a very good friend, and so I know a little bit about some of the issues that someone's dealing with cerebral palsy, and it's very important for them to be able to have activity and to be able to stretch muscles because they're in such a person with cerebral palsy is in constant tension. It's like they're living
like their muscles are constricted.
They're
all
living
the time?
with isometrics all the time.
Oh, wow.
You know.
Yeah.
And so I can certainly see the idea of wanting to be able to play movement is very important.
Physical therapy is important.
Yes, but I would question what we have here is a family who put up a playhouse, and if you go online and take a look at any of the stories dealing with this particular situation, you'll find out that this is just a small children's playhouse. There is nothing that would show that there's any physical activity going on other than walking over to this
the
playhouse.
So it doesn't have features that are specifically meant for physical therapy for cerebral palsy.
This is not like a child's play center. You
mean like a swing set and slide and that
exactly.
kind of
and so, I don't know why there would be anything additional that would need to be given in terms of special privilege to this family over another. many people, many families have young children and live in homeowner associations and know and understand that if you want to have kids play, people will roll out a basketball hoop, but it's got to be taken in.
Okay.
People will have
a wading pool on the driveway,
or a small plastic put together play set for small kids to play, but it's taken down and brought in the evening.
That's right.
Here, a family wished to build a very nice playhouse, and had they purchased a single-family home where they were not in any kind of a covenant agreement with anybody else, they would have had the opportunity of putting that up.
Right.
But I don't know that a playhouse is essential to giving any more physical therapy to their child in this particular case. So it seems to be overreaching.
This
and
family wanted it their way. They wanted what they wanted, and they're playing an emotional card to try and push everybody around.
Yeah, and I just wish that more people, when they live in a homeowners association, would take the time to first start going through the avenues that are in front of them.
That's right.
And number one, before you do something, contact the association. And
check your bylaws, check your rules and regulations, see if there are any restrictions about it, and then follow the process of your community.
Yes, go to a meeting and talk to the association. It may be that the association, this particular association, would have allowed it, but it would have given them the opportunity, because again, they have a responsibility to all the people living here, and so if one person is allowed a child's play center or playhouse, someone will say, how come I can't?
That's
right.
Well,
it gives the association the chance to say, well, we're going to give special recognition because we're going to recognize that there is a disability.
That's
and
right.
it gives them a chance to do that. But here, this family just wanted to supersede that.
That's right.
And the association isn't being cold-hearted here.
And again, we say this over and over and over again. The association is all the owners in the community. The association is not some separate entity. It's not some evil landlord. It's not some evil government. It is you. Yeah. You are it. So you are talking to your neighbors. If you supersede that process, you are pushing around your neighbors, and you are doing things that your neighbors do not want to have happen.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. People will build fences on their home, but guess what? They talk to their neighbors.
You're saying even with a single family home, there's restrictions as to how high your fence can be in the city of Minneapolis, or what materials it can be made of, and how far from the lot line it has to be. There's always parameters to what you can do.
But there's a process, and that process, even in a single family home with the city, they ask them to talk to the neighbors within so many feet of where anything is going to be changed.
And in many cases, you have to get a permit from the city. Yeah.
And so it seems to me that the very first thing to have done would to have contacted neighbors, to have contacted the community here, the homeowners association, to see if something could have been worked out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just frustrating, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And if this really was an issue with a disability, it makes me wonder, as long as they've been dealing with this, why it hasn't HUD been involved.
That's a good point. Why didn't they not go to the association and say, you know what? This is a person with a disability. You have to make special accommodations based on the Americans with Disabilities Act or based on Federal Fair Housing Act. And so that's the issue we're calling up. Here's a doctor's letter that says our son needs to have this playhouse. That's the issue that we're hanging this on.
Yeah.
But that's not what they're doing. They're making it all about emotion, and you're being cruel to our poor disabled son.
I just think it's very interesting that they are, fair housing, HUD is absent from this whole dialogue. So it makes me think that maybe it really isn't as it's being portrayed, Yeah. And the unfortunate thing is that the more that you have instances where people go around their association for this reason, for that reason, you end up diluting the...
Well, you lose the benefits of having joined a homeowners association. One of the major benefits is that aesthetics are kept up at a certain level, and thus property values are kept up at a certain level.
So to me, it's just it is just a shame. I think there certainly could be reasons for doing this. There certainly could have been an association that would have been willing and would have just
found a way to make it work.
Make it work,
That's
yes.
right.
But
That's right.
they didn't, because they didn't give their association that chance. They
That's
didn't
right.
give them that opportunity.
That's right.
Well, hey, we need to take another break. When we come back, we're going to turn our attention to Florida and talking about how HOAs, of course, are crippled through this housing crisis. Some people think they have an answer. We'll ask you what you think about this, and, of course, we'll tell you what we think after these messages.